Hey all, welcome back to The Incompetent Gardener. My name is Justin. I will be your host with the most today. Welcome back to part 2 on extracting honey, and we're going to be processing this. So we collected 8 frames of capped honey from our blue hive today, and we have uncapped it. Now I used my little pick fork for the uncapping. And I know that's not necessarily what you want to use if you're just going to use the crush method, but I don't have an extruder and I wanted to use that because I'm trying to sample everything that I've got. I've got the knife, I've got the cap fork, and then I've got a potato masher. We're going to try all of those eventually. But what we did is we collected 8 frames. I left 2 frames in the blue hive on the super above my queen extruder. And I didn't want to take everything, so I took, there's a whole mid-level of honey in 10 frames. I left 2 frames up top. I took 8 frames, so I took about 40-45% of their honey. I'm not going to do the full math because that's math, but we have gotten quite a bit of honey. So a 5-gallon bucket here, and as you can see, we're that much honey in this bucket. So we got a solid 3 inches in there, and I'm running it through a double screen, one to screen for the big chunks, and then there's a second screen under this first one. And look at all that beautiful dark amber honey down in there. That stuff is gorgeous. We're looking at around 25 to 30 total pounds with the honey and the comb. So what we're going to do to start is I'm just kind of crushing this up with a metal spoon. I don't have a preference. I don't want to use plastic too much. I've got a silicone spatula that I'll use to scrape some things. I generally cook with either metal or wood utensils. I don't like to use plastics. I'm trying to keep microplastics out of my family, out of our foods, but I'll still use my silicone spatula for stuff. It just scrapes better. So once I've got it mashed really good and I'm not drizzling any honey, I'll just move it over to a pot, and I am slow heating this wax to separate it from any residual honey. So we're going to go through that process. My goal is to do this with the least amount of equipment and cost possible, because everything's expensive. It just costs too much to do anything, anywhere, ever these days. So I'm trying to find the cheapest ways to do this. And let's face it, people have been harvesting honey for however long people have existed without fancy gadgets or machines. So that's what we're going to do together. So I'm going to move you over here real quick. Bear with me. I'll fix some of this in editing. All right, so here I've got my pot with all of my wax, all the beeswax, all the wax caps. I've got it on low heat, and all I'm doing is slow melting this. None of this was drizzly when I put it in here, and we're just going to keep this on a very slow heat in order to melt and separate. So on my stove, I'm running this on a 2 out of 10. More actually closer to like a 1.5 out of 10. I don't want to burn anything. I'm not trying to cook anything. I just want to slow warm this, a gentle warming until it starts to separate. Once the wax starts to melt, it'll float to the top, and then I'm just going to cool it. Once I've cooled it, I'm going to remove the wax from the honey. I'll rewarm the honey a little bit, run it through the sifters in the bucket here, and then run it that way, sift it, filter it. I am keeping this as raw as possible. That's why I'm going with the mash method. I'm not trying to heat it. I'm not trying to cook anything. I want this raw, just filtered honey. And again, I'm only going through 2 screens on the filter. So I've got my big screen, which is getting most of the wax out. And then under this, I've got my fine screen, which is just removing or separating the honey from any other particulates or anything else in there that's not necessarily what we would consider desirable. And then eventually I will put this into pint jars, and I've got a couple little like 4-ounce jars that I'll put in there for samples for people at work and friends and family. But yeah, we're gonna go a nice slow simmer on this. Not even a simmer, just a nice slow heat until it pretty much liquefies, and then we will stop stirring. I'm only stirring to keep it from burning on the bottom or cooking at all. I just want it to slow melt. And then once I've got it in liquid form, we'll let it cool. We'll pull the wax off the top. The honey will go through the screens, and then we'll reheat the wax again, do it a couple more times, take any impurities out, and then the wax that's left over will be poured into silicone molds and cooled down and eventually vacuum sealed and frozen. So yeah, we'll go through this process as we continue. I'm going to let the honey and the bucket continue to filter until that is completely done dripping, at which point in time anything that I can scrape out of the screens will go into the pot to render down, and then we'll start the separation process and go from there. So this is going to be a work in progress. This video is going to be in several segments, so just bear with me. All right, welcome back to day 2 on this. I let this cool down overnight, so I was able to pull the beeswax off of the top of the leftover honey. Everything that was mashed together that didn't filter through, we rendered down on low heat, so that gave us a half a pot of just nice, thick, beautiful, dark honey in here. And then all of the beeswax settled to the top and gave us this beautiful disc. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to break this down a little bit more and render it down. I don't have a double boiler, so again, baller on a budget, showing you guys how to do this the cheap way. So all I've done is taken just one of my cooking pots and took a little colander screen to hold my bowl and set it down. So I've got water coming to heat right now. I'm going to be boiling that, which that hot water gets the bowl nice and warm, but it's not direct heat, so it's not going to burn. It's almost like a double boiler or a steamer going, and that'll allow us to render this down a little bit more, keep filtering it. So I'm just going to break this up. It's got some really cool patterns on that, and we're just literally going to break this up and set it in that bowl in order to let it start melting down. And we'll do this a couple of times just to get any impurities, all the imperfections, because as you can see, this is coming out in 2 layers. So we've got our varying layers of what's in here. What we're looking for is this nice kind of opaque, smooth beeswax. That's what we're going for. We'll filter all the rest of this stuff out. So we're just going to let that go nice and slow. We'll keep checking in on it, and eventually this top layer will get separated, and we'll figure out what we can use it all for. All right, once again, swapping gloves. You know, do this a lot so you don't keep getting everything sticky. That is one thing about working with honey, especially in your kitchen. It's a lot of cleanup work. All right, so I've got my double screen, which is what we were using yesterday to filter the honey. So I've got my fine screen, which gets all the particles out. Then I've got my ultra fine screen, which gets out any other impurities or any little bug parts, anything else that could possibly be in there. So we're just going to take what we filtered out of that wax yesterday, and look at that. That is gorgeous. And we're just going to let this slowly filter through. That smells so good. It just smells like super rich honey. It's awesome. spatula to get everything out that I can. I don't want to leave anything behind. These bees have been working hard for us, and I want to respect all of their work and everything that they've done. So my early estimation on this was that we'd end up with about 1.5 to 1 2/3 gallons of honey. Currently, we're probably just above, right about 2 gallons, maybe just a hair over. It's a 5-gallon bucket, and our honey level is currently to here. So it put us right about 2 gallons, maybe just a hair over. And that is a beautiful dark, right there. So beautiful dark amber honey. I'm very excited. I've been sampling as we've been processing, and it is awesome. So I'm very excited for this. I'll be putting a bunch of jars together, sending them off to friends, family, neighbors, and then definitely keeping some for ourselves. And the beautiful part about it is all of this has been made from our bees, pollinating our garden, pollinating our property, our home, our neighbors' homes, some of the farmers' fields nearby. So it's not just helping provide for us, it's helping provide for the community and the neighborhood. And we are super excited about that. So thrilled to have our hives. I'm actually going to have to be picking up some hive boxes. We may have to do a split on one of our hives. But yeah, this was probably the most beneficial investment just environmentally for our property. And if we wanted to start selling honey at the farmer's market, or any beeswax or beeswax products, that's always an option too. And honey's currently, for fresh local raw honey, you're looking about $15, $16 a pound. That's about 25 to 30 pounds right there that we got out of our hive 2 months in. And again, I was not expecting or anticipating or even hoping to get anything this first year. But the blue hive is producing beautifully. The purple hive also producing honey. Their middle super is fully loaded. They just have not expanded above the queen excluder, so I'm not touching anything in their hive yet. Once they build up above that level, anything above the excluder, I consider that house honey. Yeah, I want them comfortable, I want them sustained and growing beautifully, but we'll keep coming back to this. The wax in here is already starting to melt. So we're just going to keep pushing this down. You can see it's moving pretty easily now. I'm getting a lot of liquid down to the bottom, so that's good. Yeah, this will render beautifully. We're just going to let that keep going. We'll go full liquid, and then we'll let it cool and solidify. Then we'll look into separating, possibly doing it again. So hang out, and we'll keep checking back. All right, welcome back. So our double boiler actually worked really well. As you can see, this right here is all of the inconsistencies, debris, the propolis, some of the small pieces of wax caps that didn't quite dissolve, and a little bit of still wax in there that's, I'm just not going to try to extract it much more, because then I'll be getting a lot of these impurities into the wax itself. Here is our silicone molds for the beeswax. Fairly clear. You can see there's some sediment on there. Once this has solidified, we'll be able to just scrape it off with a butter knife. I've been using a cake knife, as you can see, with the wax on it. So it's actually working pretty good. We've gone ahead and pulled a lot of the honey out of here. This first batch, 8 frames out of a 10 frame super, and this is what we got out of it. Very rich, thick, dark, beautiful honey. You can actually see there's several different colorations between the jars even. but very rich, very deep in flavor. Almost like a hint of molasses in there. It is delicious. But yeah, we came out to just over 2 gallons. There's still enough in here, probably for at least another jar. So I will work on getting that out. And then once this finishes up, I'm actually going to scrape that here before it solidifies too much, and then we'll just wash the wax out. But yeah, so pretty successful first batch of honey harvesting. Just be very careful when you're working. Always make sure you got a drop cloth. I got some paper towels there to catch any drips off of the honey gate. But yeah, super excited for how this turned out. So awesome. I will keep you guys posted as we continue throughout the season. And then next we'll be taking a look at our root garden, or what I'm liking to call the chaos garden this season. So thanks for stopping by, guys. Let me know what you think.